Welcome to High Desert Dialogue. You can catch us every single weekend here on all 5 of our radio stations here in the High Desert. It is Roxanne, and I'm here to welcome a great individual, and you have probably heard about his organization before, Fathers in Hip Hop. So happy to have him in the studio. Please introduce yourself, my friend.
What's going on, Ms. Scafidi? First, I just want to thank you for opening up your platform for me to be able to come in and speak about Fathers in Hip Hop. And shout out to the High Desert. We out here, follow the wings.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you in here, and you've been on here before. We've heard some of your commercials too.
Right. I definitely know that, El Dorado Broadcasting, the station that you guys have, is the heart of the desert. So I always, utilize your platform and advertise my events and situations through your airwaves because the HD is tuned in.
Yes, HT 96.3, so we have heard you on there before. So
yeah.
Great to talk to you. Great that you're here. And we're talking about your organization, Fathers in Hip Hop. Can you give us a little background about this organization, maybe how you got started with it?
Fathers in Hip Hop really got birthed when I went through my test of losing my wife. My wife passed away in 2014 after a battle with cancer. And I was left. I don't feel it was an option because there was only one way to go, but to others, I guess they thought it was an option of whether I would, keep my young girls. I had daughters. They were 6 and 8, and then my daughters that, became my daughters through my marriage, they were 16, twins, and their grandmother opted to take them and, go to Alabama with them, and it was strongly suggested that I let my young daughters go as well because they didn't feel I'd be able to balance my participation in the industry and care for and raise 2 young girls. So I was offended, by that suggestion that what type of man would allow his children to be, sent away and felt like they're not wanted by their father when they just lost their mother. And it's not like it was my baby mama and I had some kids over there. This was my family, my wife. Like we were all in the same home. So they went to Alabama for the summer. And I asked, my mother-in-law to hold them for those couple months so I could regroup and get, things situated to prepare, for that journey. You're looking at an unemployed recording artist who's, basically living off his music and hustle. So I had to, figure those things out. But it was always my intention to, before school started, to get my girls back. They started hearing stories and people were telling them on the other end that I wasn't coming for them, that I wouldn't be able to do it, this, that, and the other. So I actually brought them home maybe about 3 weeks earlier than I was supposed to.
Okay.
And Fathers in Hip Hop kind of like popped in my head at the West Coast Hip Hop Awards. Shout out to my guy Tavis Miller. I didn't have a babysitter. And, my girls were still supposed to be in Alabama when I accepted this booking, for this show. So I reached out and he said, man, bring them with you. It's cool. It's family. Come on. So my daughters came out on stage with me during my performance, and my one that was 8 at that time, she's 13 now.
Okay.
She just was dancing and it was the highlight of the show. Like the whole crowd just went crazy, and it was like, God showed me that, in order to do what I needed to do with my music, that I had to make my children a part of it, and it had to be built around them. And the testimony of fatherhood was heavy. You know what I mean? So I kind of took my pain and converted it into power. And, we've been rocking. Like, my girls aren't in the entertainment, but they help me, when I set up my vendor situations. They're with me, unless I'm booked at a club or somewhere the age, requirements won't let them be. But I was committed that I wouldn't let one separate me from the other, because hip-hop and the music industry is all I know, and being their father is my main priority. And the music was the only way I saw being able to provide for them, because it's like you don't go to school to be a doctor for 8, 12 years and then decide you want to be something else. So I knew that this would provide a way. So in the midst of that, the platform of Fathers in Hip Hop was birthed. And,
I'm sorry to hear that, but you've been doing some great things already in the High Desert. So how long has Fathers in Hip Hop been around? Since about 2014, right? 2015?
Well, no, I would say the actual formation of my business and getting my trademark and everything is it's coming on 2 years.
2 years.
But prior to that, I was moving a situation out here in the High Desert called Mafia, which is Men of Faith in Action. And all these things were just seeds, that were being planted to develop into what eventually became Fathers in Hip Hop, because the agenda has never changed.
Okay.
It was Men of Faith in Action. And God just showed me through the journey, no, it's not just men, it's fathers. It's the definition and the responsibilities of fathers that is really what's hold weight. So Men of Faith and actually kind of just developed into Fathers in Hip Hop when I went ahead and, did my trademarks and set it up legit, so we could really be impactful out here. And home base is the desert, because I get pulled all over the place.
You're all over SoCal.
But I'm really, my heart is really with the HD, for whatever reasons it may be. I feel that there's a work that needs to be done here. My goal no longer is to be a international, platinum selling recording artist. That's not my goal. My goal is to impact the community that my kids live in, create streams of income for people in the community, while also raising the economic value in the community. By when Fathers in Hip Hop throws an event in the high desert, the hotels win, the venues win, the stores win, the fast food restaurants win, because we're drawing something to the high desert, and the whole high desert should be able to benefit from that.
And speaking of events, we're going to go to one of the events that you just had a few weeks ago that turned out tremendous.
Right.
And you have probably heard about it too on our radio stations as well. You had a great one. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, we just did Daddy's on Wheels, and it was our third annual at Holiday Skating Center in Victorville. And the objective with Daddy's on Wheels, to every year we want to be able to pay for 100 children to come and skate for free. But the bigger goal, of Fathers in Hip Hop is to create opportunities for fathers to engage with their children. So when you do an event like Daddy's on Wheels, some people are struggling. Victorville is a hurting community. There's no really other way to look at it, from my angle.
Okay.
And so we know, sometimes it's hard to afford to take your kids skating. Stuff is expensive. So we want to cover the cost of the kids. And then if the parent wants to skate, then they can, purchase the ticket,
Right,
or they can just come in and,
just
watch the kids. So they're not obligated to pay. We cover the kids, and, we've been successful at doing that the past 3 years. And this year was really big because I got to draw out some more support. Good buddy of mine in the recording industry, Compton AV, he lent his influence to the situation, and he came out and brought his daughter, and, did his meet and greet. And also, I presented a Fathers in Hip Hop Award to my buddy Darrell Madison, whose son just recently signed to the Minnesota Vikings as their new running back.
Check that out.
And
awesome.
He was present as well. So we had Alexander Madison from the Minnesota Vikings. He was in attendance with his father and stood side me while I presented his father, with a Father in Hip Hop acknowledgement, because I've seen Darrell, be there for his son, like through, Pop Warner High School, college, all the way to the NFL. And I felt that, as well as the son, gets his moment, that his father should be acknowledged for standing by his side. And, a lot of times when you look in the movies and the media, they show the superstar whose dad wasn't there, but he wants to show up to the press campaign, has never been present, has never been acted. That's how, we get portrayed a lot of times. So I wanted to honor, that father that been there, from birth to, boom, in his big moment. He'd been there with him every step of the way. So that was big, that I was able to do that at Daddy's on Wheels, to show men, if you stick by your children and sow into their dreams, that, all things are possible. My dude went to the NFL right out of IE, San Bernardino.
That is terrific, and so cool that we were a part of this event too, and we want to be a part of your future events coming up too. So I'm glad this event was here in the high desert. But that is exactly what Fathers in Hip Hop is doing.